This is a Fox News Alert. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, and this is the 5. Hurricane Harvey, a massive Category 4 storm, will soon make landfall on the Texas coast. Let's bring in Steve Harrigan, who is covering the storm from Corpus Christi, Texas.
Kimberly, we've been watching these conditions get worse over the past few hours. We're already now seeing hurricane-force winds in parts of Corpus Christi with a Category 4 storm. The concern is about destruction of buildings, well-made houses, and large trees either snapped or uprooted. We're starting to see that here in Corpus Christi. You can see parts of the buildings, parts of roofs, a lot of slate beginning to come off, hearing some crashes. We've seen some street lights down as well. So the physical destruction is starting. It's really like a ghost town out here right now. Almost no one out at all. Most of the stores, most of the hotels boarded up with plywood. We've been seeing big preparations. Really, for the past 2 days here, there have been long lines for gasoline, for water, for flashlights. We've seen people, I'm seeing small debris fly through the air. We've seen people out in front of grocery stores, really patiently buying and shopping. There have been mandatory evacuations in effect for a lot of the low-lying areas along the water. Some voluntary evacuations in effect as well. Many people have been on the highway, but others have decided to stay. For those who have decided to stay, they're really on their own at this point. We've gotten word from the Corpus Christi police that because of the wind conditions now, they're not going to be able to go out and help people, perhaps life or death situations. So those people who stayed are also, in some cases, putting first responders' lives at risk. The real question is what happens down the road. If this storm has, as you can see some small things just fly through the air here, if this storm, as expected, sits for a while, that could be the real danger. There are estimates that we could see 30 inches of rain in parts around here. That would be catastrophic flooding, threatening flooding. These are words coming from state officials. So there is concern about the long term here, 4 or 5 days. We can see a 12-foot storm surge that really puts people at risk. So we have the drama right now of the eye of the storm, some dramatic damage, but the real heavy damage might still be to come. I'm going to toss it back to you.
All right, my goodness, what an incredible shot and great reporting, Steve. Thank you so much for what you do. Let's go now to Matt Finn, who is in Blessing, Texas, with the latest. Matt?
Hi, Kimberly. We are about 150 miles northeast of where Steve is. The conditions not nearly as bad here in Blessing, Texas, but they're changing by the minute. 1 minute there's blinding wind and rain, and then it kind of settles down where we are right now. Here in Blessing, there was a mandatory evacuation issued last night at midnight. The last buses to leave this county left at 1:30 p.m. today, so now law enforcement officials are saying if you're still here, you're unfortunately on your own. This town, looking like many of the towns here in this area, almost entirely evacuated, very quiet, no one wandering around. There are, trees blowing in the wind and water starting to pile up along the streets. I can imagine in just a couple of minutes or hours, it's going to begin to look much worse here. This is considered ground zero. Some of the strongest portions of the storm expected to hit this area. The National Weather Service told county officials here a short while ago they can expect 15, 30, 50 inches of rain here in this county. A mayor of the neighboring city that we're in said they've never seen anything like this, an unprecedented amount of rain expected to hit this area. Kimberly, back to you.
All right, Matt, thanks so much. And let's go to Rob Schmidt, who is braving the storm in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Hey guys, welcome back to the party here in Corpus Christi as I about get blown over. We are seeing, I think, about 60-mile-an-hour sustained winds right now, gusts around 90. We're about 25 miles from the eye of this storm, straight west. This is, I believe, about as bad as it's going to get for Corpus Christi right here at this moment, as we're kind of touching pretty close to the eye wall of this Category 4 hurricane. We're right by the water here. This is Shoreline Boulevard here in downtown Corpus Christi, and we've been kind of watching this thing develop all day long. And the interesting thing about this storm was this wasn't supposed to hit till about 1 in the morning. This thing just kept on steaming right through the Gulf. It never slowed down, and now we're watching it make landfall something like 5 hours earlier than we initially anticipated, and actually stronger than we anticipated. You remember yesterday we were talking about maybe a tropical storm, maybe a Category 1 storm, and here we are today, and we have a Category 4 hurricane making landfall, a major hurricane, the strongest storm that we've seen. I feel like if I jump up right now, I could probably fly away. strongest storm we've seen in the United States in 12 years. So at this point, damage is going to be the big thing. There's a hotel right next to our hotel. We saw the shingles start to come off about an hour ago. They're slowly just ripping off an old building that looks like it hadn't been well taken care of, and you're seeing the damage from that now. The palm fronds are flying everywhere. There's a lot of loose debris flying around. But the real question is going to be the water in this storm. That's what everybody's really worried about, especially when you move to the other side of this storm. Right now we're on the west side of this hurricane, I guess you would say. On the east side and the north side of the hurricane, the dirty side is where that water is really going to build up. And when this thing stalls out and it sits over, the South Texas area and especially up into Galveston, Houston, on that dirty side, as it stalls out, it's just going to dump rain for days and days and days, and it's going to create a mess. And that's going to be the real story after right now, which is the wind, which we're dealing with as we speak. Guys, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
Okay, Rob, we have a couple follow-up questions if you can bear with us. But so you talked about the water levels there, that they're really worried about that, anticipating some major concern. What are they doing in terms of trying to prepare places, buildings, et cetera, facilities, so they don't sustain intensive water damage?
Well, we haven't seen a lot. I mean, I haven't seen many sandbags. We've been moving around Corpus Christi quite a bit. I mean, the one thing they do have, obviously, they're in the Gulf. They're ready for this kind of thing. They have this seawall right here, which I believe is either 12 or 14 feet high. They're expecting somewhere between a 6 to 12-foot storm surge. So that's one way they're going to try and handle it. But as far as the rain that comes from the storm, the rain that dumps from the sky, I haven't seen much evidence of preparation at all. I've seen a lot of boarded up gas stations and retail stores and stuff like that, anticipating the wind. But as far as flood control, I really don't know how they're going to handle that, and I haven't seen a lot of preparation for it. Now, it could be that I've missed it, but we've driven around. This is not a big city. We've driven around. I haven't seen the sandbags. I haven't seen the flood preparation, but it's the Gulf. They're used to a lot of water here. I mean, that's the way it is down here.
So does it seem, Rob, that people have been heeding the public safety warnings of the officials there, telling them to stay inside? And about what time did you notice that it really was clearing out?
Yeah, there's nobody here. I mean, our hotel has got, maybe 50 people in it, most of them involved with the media. There's no cars on the road. People, this is not a mandatory evacuation area right here, but if you go just a little bit closer to the coast, because we're kind of on a bay here, but if you go out onto the little stretch of islands that kind of make up the Gulf Coast out there, anything between the Intercoastal and the Gulf Coast, they had to get out. It's mandatory. So I would assume they're all out. Most of the people here are out too. I mean, people aren't just going to play with this. I mean, when it started turning into a Cat 3, Cat 4 hurricane, I think people said, okay, let's screw this. We're going to get out of here. And rightly so. I mean, this is a serious storm. All
right. Well, obviously, we want you to take care of yourself there and protect yourself from the elements, and probably be checking back in with you later. Rob, thanks for that update.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Rick Reithius from the Fox News Weather Center to get the very latest. Rick, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, it's about 300,000 people in Corpus Christi, so it certainly is a decent-sized city. The storm has slowed down in its forward progression. That's bad news. You'd like it to move on and get out of there. It's not going to happen. It's going to be with us, as Rob was just saying, for the better part of 5 to 6 days. Not at this strength, but it's going to take a long time for a 130-mile-an-hour storm to begin to wind down. And in fact, we might not really see that for the better part of, say, 36 hours or so. I want you to notice, Kimberly, last year, they launched a new satellite up into the atmosphere. It's called GOES-16. This is the first time we've had a hurricane that we've seen with this imagery. We get an image every 5 minutes instead of every 15 minutes, and it creates a much more accurate and potentially, hopefully, life-saving picture. But to get an idea of this storm right here, you kind of see this donut, you see the center of that eye. A lot of times, when these storms begin to interact with land, they start to break down. That has not happened at all. We've had a strengthening storm all afternoon. A strengthening storm allows the winds that are high up in the atmosphere to transport down to the ground a lot easier. And that means that we are going to see probably these winds at 130, gusting to maybe 155 miles an hour, and that is about to happen. In fact, the outer eye wall, or the inner eye wall, is now coming on shore here in the South Padre Island. Winds here had already, about an hour ago, been clocked at about 110 miles an hour, and that was before we had this eye wall coming on shore. We won't say there's a landfall until the center point here crosses land. That's still probably maybe an hour or two away because it's moving so slowly. I want to show you this. This is one of the computer models that we look at, the weather models that we like. We trust this one a lot. And here we are right now with a landfall. You go about 24 hours from now, we still have a hurricane just around 50 miles or so inland. That's Saturday. Go into Sunday into Monday morning. still the center of a storm here around Corpus Christi, right where Rob is. Go into Tuesday, into Wednesday. You get the idea. We still have this storm here. It is not until maybe Thursday or so that it's gone. And some models indicating now that the storm actually might just kind of dissipate over the next, say, week and a half here. That means all of that moisture that is up in the atmosphere is going to fall down across this area. And that is why we're so concerned about this catastrophic flooding. How much rain? National Weather Service has been saying things like 35 inches. I've never seen the National Weather Service put out a forecast like that. That said, this same model that we're looking at, take a look at some of these numbers. 53 inches here. That's from kind of Corpus Christi north. We'll move that map a little towards the north, go to Houston, and we're talking about numbers that are pushing 20 inches. So everywhere in between, that's about a 250-mile stretch. We're talking maybe 1 to 2 feet, in some spots 4 feet or so. Go inland as well. San Antonio, maybe 10 inches. Austin, 8 inches. This is kind of that cutoff line. If it goes any farther towards the west, we're solidly into hill country and major damage there. Anywhere to the east, no doubt you're in it. So everybody getting the rain, a lot of people getting the wind, and I actually didn't even talk about the storm surge today, which is going to be with us all night long. And because of that continued onshore flow, it doesn't go away right away. In fact, a lot of that storm surge, 12 feet, might be with us for a couple of days.
My goodness, staggering facts, including the amount of waterfall, expected from this and rain, really considerable. All right, Rick, thanks for that. We'll be checking back in with you. Okay, let's take it around the table. Dana, first, some comments.
Well, when he said that Port Lavaca could get 53 inches of rain, I'm 60 inches tall. So that is, I mean, I'm not that tall, but I mean, that's a lot of rain. Oh. If I could just say, so I've been watching over the past couple of days, and in particular today, I think we have the most skilled and talented weather team. And also, they're very brave, maybe slightly crazy. I mean, the graphics are amazing. The other thing, though, is that they help explain, they tell a story, and they have really big hearts. Like, they've been really trying to tell people how to take care of themselves. So I think that our coverage on Fox has been amazing. And so it looks like, because the storm's going to be so bad, you need to stick with the channel through the weekend. No, absolutely. It's going to be extensive. And as you say, continuing into next week, you just really see how courageous they are to put it on the line, to bring it to our viewers, really being in the eye of it in order to do that. Jesse.
Yeah, our heart goes out to the people of Texas, especially there along the Gulf. Fox News loves Texas. Texas loves Fox News. Everybody in America loves Texas. Anybody that spent any time down in that part of the country knows how great the people are. And you know how they're going to come together for the cleanup, because they're going to weather it, and then the cleanup is going to be the worst part. So it's nice to see, and I hate when I see a natural disaster happen, but it's great because it brings the country together and it unifies the country in a way that sometimes the other things don't. More than sports, more than, terrorist attacks. When a natural disaster happens in America, churches, families, the feds, the governors, everybody comes together, and it's a beautiful thing to see. Just about the team, too. Harrigan, Steve Harrigan, getting low to the ground, bending the knees, deserves combat pay.
Great
this guy, Rob Schmidt, over there in Corpus Christi, looks like he was having the time of his life out there reporting in a Category 4. And Matt Finn, great job. Like you said, great team out there. I just can't believe how quickly this thing's been upgraded, and hope everybody stays safe.
And I just can't believe that, given your Waters World name, you're not out there.
Yeah, I mean, actually, how did that happen?
See me out there.
Yeah, actually, I would love to make a bet with you and then end up with you at the Hurricane.
Oh, really? What happens if you lose? Can we send you somewhere?
I'll go to the Hurricane.
Okay.
Sure.
Because it's going to be right above your head.
Very dangerous bet to be made.
I know, it's like scary.
Not a good bet.
Juan, get your thoughts.
Well, I'm just worried about a Sharknado. With all this water coming up off the ocean, you never know what's in it, Kimberly.
Right.
You never know what could be in it. So, there's a reason to worry.
She's just for contained water.
Yes, I don't like, yes, absolutely.
But I got to say, one of the interesting things to me, just looking at it, is how come there's not a mandatory evacuation? You can be there, and the government says no problem. I just think that's wild.
I guess in that one particular area where Rob was, but he was saying, to the side of it over there that they were.
No, he was saying on the island.
Yeah,
but I'm in Corpus Christi. You saw Harrigan there. It looked to me like the other guys. Rob said looked like if he jumped up, he could fly.
Well, it's partly because the storm went from a 1 to a 4. And
but Harrigan was right there in our hour, and I'm saying he looked like he was going to get knocked over.
Well, we know that Governor Abbott has called for an evacuation, especially for those in the low-lying areas and the coastal areas as well. But we also know that that is somewhat contradictory to what some of the local areas have said. I know the mayor of Houston has said something a little bit contradictory to that, not urging people to leave
I don't
like
understand that.
Governor Abbott has. But, we certainly pray for those individuals who have decided to wait this storm out, praying for their safety. And, thankfully we have a brave team there. As Rob had mentioned, all 50 people, or he had said, I think 50 people in the hotel, they're all with the media.
Right.
Yeah.
That is often the
Big
case.
party.
Yeah, we're the only lunatics that show up for it.